I think we are ready to start in 10 seconds.
That one.
Oh, I know where it's coming from. That's better. Right. Just wait for our engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll begin. And good morning to everyone. And good morning, Lady Chelsea. How are
Good
you
morning.
this morning? Huh?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
Yeah. Are you bright-eyed, bushy tail and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know, huh?
Okay.
That's good to know. All righty. Well, this is a new week, and I feel vibrant after last week, you know.
Yeah.
Last week, I must say, was really quite inspirational, listening to those young people speaking. You know? So I'm really pleased that happened. And the conference last week was a resounding success. Hundreds of people attended the Global African Congress UK, Europe, I should say, climate change conference. Hundreds of people attended. It goes to prove the technology works, the online conference system works, and who says that African peoples are not interested in climate change? How absurd, huh? How absurd.
Exactly.
Yeah. What we demonstrate is that we could defy those naysayers who would simply do us down. So I'm really proud of the Global African Congress. I'm proud that they demonstrated that we could use technology to our best advantage. And from that conference, a paper will be developed, and one that will lead the way for African people worldwide to combat this scourge of climate change. There's got to be the way ahead. Huh?
Yeah.
Got to be the way ahead. And there were quite a number of young people, about a third were young people, between the ages of 30 and below, you know? I say young people. Huh?
Yeah, that's still young. That's what it is.
Okay, well, but it all is good. Now, before I begin, of course, very quick, going to give usual recognition. But this program is being transmitted via galaxyafewe.com. You can find the website, as well as being transmitted via YouTube and Facebook, and of course the Motivator Show. The Motivator Show, alongside Lady Chelsea. So we are transmitting live through those platforms also. So it will be a great advantage. Okay? Great advantage. It's important then for me to also to recognize the visionary leader of the Galaxy FUI radio station, that Chief Akambabai, recognizing, of course, those who stood with him to ensure that we're able to transmit, not for 5 years, not for 10 years or 15 or 20, but more than 30 years. This station has been transmitting de-brainwashing programs to the community. I want to give recognition to Chief Akambabai, to Elder Eric Kruti, Dr. Man Abu Ratata, and of course Empress Shanice. And of course, one of those stewards, the pilot who stayed with the station all this time, is Nickel, the most royal. What a name, Nickel, most royal. So let's give praise to him. Also give praise to the brother who takes us from night to day and ensures that there's continuity of programs. And so let's give praise to Iron King. And I give praise to you. Long may you continue in your good work, Iron King. Let me now move on quickly to the further messages. And those messages are, of course, health messages. Okay, we must not forget the health messages. I simply say to people, I'm not dictating. I always say, I want you to consider. I want you to consider the amount of fat that you're ingesting. I want you to consider the amount of salt you're ingesting. I want you to consider the amount of sugar you're ingesting. Do you need to add extra sugar to your diet, with your teas or coffees or whatever? Those sweet drinks that are very popular, whose brand I will not quote right now. Yeah, just think about it. Just think about the numbers of our people who have diabetes, hypertension, which are really caused by sugar and salt primarily. Think about, I say to people, the amount of water that you're consuming. Are you consuming the right amount of water for your body mass? The doctors say that we should be consuming at least 2 liters, if 3, depending upon your size. Just consider. I keep my water nearby. This time I put a little fruit in my water. Fruit, no artificial stuff. Just nice little orange in there. It goes down easier.
That's good.
It makes a difference. It makes it a far more pleasant experience. So people should simply consider. I'm not telling you what to do. I want you to think about it. It's your long-term health that's always at risk. It is, of course, vitally important that you do exercise every day. Not to exercise your body, a body which is built to run, to be race itself. If you don't treat your body right, how can your body treat you right? So exercising is a must, if only for 5 minutes per day. 5 minutes per day.
It's a short amount of time.
It's really just about time. Even busy people can manage 5 minutes a day.
That's true.
So it's so important that we take care of ourselves. And in our communities, we have abnormally high levels of diabetes sufferers and people suffering from hypertension. And that's primarily lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle, have an adverse or negative effect on your physiology, your body. So that's why I give these messages out. In the majority of families that you and I will be aware of, someone in those families will have one of those 2 maladies. And of course, the other malady is, of course, cancers. And that's really down to diet and exercise and general fitness, ensuring that you minimize the amount of processed food or chemicals that you ingest into your bodies. So we can make a difference. it's through our actions. We've got to decide that we want better for ourselves. Okay, we've got to convince ourselves we are deserving of better. That's why the messages go out to you. You know? And of course, as our brother Kwame in Nottingham would say, it is of course important not only for us to consider all these physiological things about our bodies, but to think about our minds as well.
Yeah.
So of course, as we are of African heritage, we don't say our mind first, we talk about our spirituality, yeah? Those higher parts of us, those higher energies of us, yeah? And of course, one way of ensuring we intensify our sense of self and certainty is to take time out. And just allow all the cares of the world to wash away, yeah? And you allow yourself those times in which you're able just to sit without interruption, yeah? Silence, no interruptions. And you allow all those worries just to go out of yourselves, you know? So you can remain centered and strong and certain, yeah? But if in doubt, seek professional help.
Yeah, yeah.
Vitally important. And our guest today, I hope, will allude to how people generally can take care not only of their bodies, but their minds as well, the general psyche, that which drives us to be failures or successes, mediocre or outstanding. Huh? Okay? That personal motivation is so vitally important we get that right. That's why those messages are sent out every week.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Am I wrong, Lady Chelsea?
No, you're not. Yeah, I agree with everything.
Affirmations. There you are. Affirmation. And of course, I received a similar affirmation from our elder Norma.
Oh yes.
Inspired, as I said. You know, I like to always say this. I know I say consistently, but she remembers Britain in the 40s. Yeah, she was alive in the 40s, 1940s. You know, the century of where we had the world wars. Yeah, she remembers Britain in the 50s. Yeah, the 60s. You know, can you imagine being alive in the 50s and 60s when the rock and roll just started, reggae music with itself going. You know, Enoch Powell was alive. Yeah, people like him was alive. Imagine, huh? She remembers Britain in those days, yeah?
Yeah.
She remembers the 60s through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 20s to today. Wow. Now, if I'm blessed to live that long, you become clever. It's simply that you've seen so much. You've seen the patterns of life. You simply, you're paying attention, become wise.
Okay.
And you
that makes sense.
You know, you see what is a waste of time, and things that we get caught up in are actually really small and stupid. The big things are those things we don't pay enough attention to. Yeah, that's why it's a tradition in Africa, part of our culture, that we respect our elders. Yeah, because their interest is our interest, because we are their successors. Why I like to call her name, why I like to speak to her. Sometimes she rattles on a long time. I can talk. But I listen keenly to what she says, you know? Listen keenly to what she says, you know? And this week we spoke about a particular service that the council has finances, but the organisation provides a service. It's changed without telling the council. I won't go into detail, other than to say that she's there in her grand old age. She's there leading the charge to protect those services for the most vulnerable in this part of London. Wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah.
Amazing, you know? She's not retired, yeah? She said, well, look, I'll stop doing what I'm doing when I'm in the ground. But right now, I've got the figure, I've got the mental agility. This is what I want to do. This is what keeps me alive, protecting those who are least able to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Wow. You know?
Great.
You can't argue with someone like that. You know?
Not really.
You know? So I asked her, can I cook your food? And I think she don't. I don't need anything, Martin. No, I don't need anything. She's self-sufficient. You know? I just felt I had to do something, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. You've got to express appreciation for our elders. Yeah, that is our tradition. So people, those who are listening and you're feeling uncertain, unsure, speak to an elder. The elder has no other interest but your interest. Yeah, they see you as being their successors. Yeah, and they can help you to be centered, help you to make the right decisions. Then they know that their life has been worthwhile. Yeah, selfless, because they are elders.
Yeah.
That's why elders are held in such high esteem. You know, it's a profound lesson I've had to learn over time and appreciate over time.
Okay. Yeah.
People like Elder Norma is an example of it. You know, truly, she can be quite challenging, right? But it's the nature, of someone who's lived so long, you know, and continues to exhibit the vigor of life and all that it offers. You know, in her grand retirement. She's still walking around, you know, she can't see as well as she used to, but she's mentally, she's as keen as anyone else. Any young person, she's as keen. But if you can imagine, if Elder Norma were able to go back, in her case, 60, 70 years, okay, with all the experience she has, can you imagine if she then were able to relive her life, the subtle changes she would make to ensure her life is even better. Why there is an African tradition that you listen carefully to your elders is that it gives you an opportunity not to make the same mistakes that they might have made in their earlier lives. And if you could do that, our community would advance quickly. Very much so, it would advance. That's why elders are so important. There you go. All right, there you go. Right, enough of that. I think I've said enough of that. Do you want to share any sort of wisdom with us this morning? Go on.
I don't think I have any this morning.
Some wisdom. Come on. I can talk about it. Go on. You know?
Wisdom.
What have you seen this week that was interesting that you want to share with us?
I don't know.
I know you have.
I don't know. I think just the emphasis on just like what you said before, like meditation, just breathing exercises. I think I'm trying to do more like breathing exercises to kind of help me de-stress. So I think, you know, having time out to do that, even if it's 5 minutes, I think it doesn't have to be half an hour, an hour. It's like 5 minutes a day can really like calm me down. So I suppose that's something. I don't know.
It is vital. You know, even you saying that, there are many listening who say, yeah, it is true, you know, I should pause and I should just take in the breath and just de-stress. I hear you. Okay. So that's wisdom, you know, that's wisdom. Yeah? Coming from a young person, there are other young people who will hear you. Yeah, and you have an impact. Yeah. That's why this is the de-brainwashing station, you know. You can do it yourself. Yeah. Don't need to go outside. We have all the solutions right here. Yeah. We've just got to look into ourselves, you know, allow it to flourish, you know, not be afraid for those solutions to rise. See, there you are. Okay. That's a good example. It's a very good example, a really good example. And thank you for that. So I've mentioned the Global African Congress and the very successful meeting held last week. Yeah. And it just demonstrates that it can happen, you know. And it'll be interesting at some point, if we might be able to get some, maybe a call or two later this morning, some additional feedback from the conference as well. Okay. But today's program, of course, Lady Chelsea, we wanted really to focus on a sort of local organisation, started up by a young man, an inspired young man. Now, I know when I say that, there's a general belief that, okay, that person is exceptional.
Yeah.
But I prefer to invite people on the show here. I know you agree.
Yeah.
Ordinary people engage in wonderful activities. Yeah. And the young man we're going to interview later on is a good example of an ordinary person engaged in a wonderful activity. And we can do more about this. And hopefully, I hope you don't mind, you will lead this particular interview, because young person to young person. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Hey, oh, got it, huh? Good. Once upon a time, you were a listener, and now you are here in the studio, engaging with me and engaging with guests. And now you can start to lead an interview. Wow, huh?
Yeah.
I love this.
A big difference. Yeah.
Progression. And if I may say so, and to others listening, that's our duties as I become an elder. As it were. I'm a parent, but I become an elder. It is our duty to nurture succession. Yeah, it is our duty to help those who are, particularly those who show promise. Okay, those who want to help themselves. Okay, because such people will lead the community forward, both spiritually, economically, politically, socially. Yeah. And what you're displaying, I hope you don't mind me saying this to you on live radio, live.
Depends.
You're displaying natural leadership qualities. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I know you're very sensitive, incredibly intelligent, and I've said so many times, we've got to watch carefully our women, make sure our women are able to succeed, because us blokes, we're doing it, but we've got to make sure you can't win as men, not if you don't have successful women alongside you, huh? Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm going to, I'm a parent, so I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing you, get hitched up with some young man who's like mine, who respects you and honor you, huh?
Yeah, I would like that as well.
Hey, that's right. Yeah, I know you'd like it. Huh? That's what we need to do. Oh my God, I'd love to be able to show your wedding online.
Oh my gosh, I don't know about that.
Well, I'm hopeful. Huh? That's the word.
All right.
Oh, yeah, get you married up already,
Oh
Go on. I'm looking for children as well now, of course.
Of course.
Keep going. Yeah?
Maybe them first, yeah.
Because, of course, all elders desire that for the youngsters around them. That is what we want, that you find love, happiness, contentment, okay? And you're all able to work together for common goals, common aims. What we don't want is for there to be discord, constant arguments, tensions, and so on. But that's clearly not beneficial. We want to see growth. That's all we say. All right?
Yeah,
makes sense?
I agree. Yeah, it makes sense. I agree with that.
And what's your opinion on what's been happening across the world these past few weeks? Have you seen any particular stories that
what's been happening?
Yeah.
What has been happening? I don't know.
What about the lockdown? Did you think we're going to open up?
I don't know. It's looking like.
Oh yeah.
There are some plans, but no. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 3 weeks. To be honest, I think I kind of expected that a couple months ago. Like as they said, they did warn that it wasn't, 100%. It was to see how everything was going. So I think they said like 5th of July, maybe. I don't think it's been confirmed, but I think that is a new date that they're looking at. Which I mean, if it's going up and it's been way more dangerous, then I suppose that makes sense to
Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
do that.
Yeah. It is very sad, you know. I even hear some people say, "Oh, it's not real," but you know, gosh,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the world has lost trillions upon trillions of dollars, and these countries don't like losing money, huh?
Yeah, no, not at all, not at all.
I can't for the life of
It's
me
ruining
that anyone could believe that the coronavirus isn't a real thing. When you've observed the world lose trillions upon trillions of dollars, that wouldn't happen if it were fake. It would have been found out a long time ago, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, that's a silly conversation, really, isn't it?
No.
Anyway, it's a long path, but I think I'm inclined to agree with you that it's likely to be a delay, and for good reason. So the Indian stroke Delta mutation is another example that if you don't control it early on, you look at India, a number of people died there. You then have the it gives the virus an opportunity to mutate. So mutations, which is a challenge, because they could potentially undermine the immune systems of those who are most vulnerable, which is why these vaccines and so on are important for those who have compromised immune system. And whilst I know that quite a number of people who do not possess a compromised immune system are still taking the vaccines, it's clearly obvious that it's only particular people who are quite vulnerable, and it falls in the usual category. The elderly are definitely at risk, and whilst I'm aware of young people getting it, the numbers of those who've demised are tiny in comparison to the elderly. So whilst young people most certainly can get it, they are spreaders of it. Okay, the danger is, of course, that they spread it to the elderly, or those with compromised immune systems. You know, and that's a challenge, and I accept that as a fact. And I can only hope that we're able to protect the most vulnerable across the world. I'm just conscious that Africa appears to be slightly behind the curve in this regard. We can only hope that the vaccine can permeate the entire continent as quickly as possible to ensure that the most vulnerable are protected. You know, I don't know about those who are healthy and so on and so on. You know, I'm a bit in mind whether or not we should be doing. But anyway, it is what it is. I trust that the experts know what they're doing. But I say to people, you make your own individual decisions, and if in doubt, seek professional advice. That makes sense, huh?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's an ongoing topic, and of course we should talk about climate change as being a clear present danger. And we at a future show we need to return to, I love the name, John Lennon, and talk about the transfer of technology from those factories in America, Europe, and so on to the Caribbean and Africa. Because clearly, solar technology is appropriate in those tropical areas of the world, you know. So Africa and the Caribbean are bathed in sunlight much of the time.
So it makes sense.
You know, we need to make sure they get the technology, and as John demonstrated, we can prove that if you put a solar panel on a local school, that school could save thousands of, in this case, Jamaican dollars, let's say, and that money could be spent on teaching and learning. More teachers, more facilities for children. Now that makes perfect sense. And if we here are able to raise the money so the school can have access to that technology without fear or favor, then we are doing that's a good thing. So we're going to get John back again, and we'll develop the campaign to raise the resources so that those schools and hospitals can have the solar technology. Yeah? I believe that's a really important step forward, a really, really important step forward. Okay, so that's fine, and I look forward to talking to him. But I said that name, I've got it separated in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
John Lennon. Huh? Okay. Anyway, what's your thought about climate change, Lady Chelsea?
I think it's an important thing to think about. think I do what I can, but I think if, like I think I said last week, like if the councils, communities aren't like kind of doing it together, it can be harder for everyone to kind of get on board. Like, for example, the recycling, which I think we were talking about last week. But yeah, no, it's important. I believe that some things that we do does affect the planet, and we need to kind of look after it better. And I think, as was also said last week, like everyone's kind of doing what they want for like their individual reasons rather than working together. So I think, things like last week were very important.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to play this video.
Yeah.
I'm going to play this video deliberately because it's the mindset of a winner, like Kobe Bryant. Okay. I want to get recognition that this is a YouTube video, which seems to be right for this occasion. Just prior to our guest, this mindset is so vitally important. Let's hope it works first time.
Let's go somewhere else. Like I would watch Magic play. I'd watch Michael play. And I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out.
That's why he's the best player in the game.
Everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
So because you know what you want, the world's giving you exactly the information you need to become better at it.
Because you know what you're looking for.
So many guys tell stories about your work ethic.
Yeah.
What was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
Well, I mean, every day. Since 20 years. It was an everyday process, and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Man, my vertical was a 40, it wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive. Right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast. Right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game and it just never changed. It's a good separation for me, emotionally, to be able to put myself in a place where at practice or when I'm training or during games, I switch my mind to something else. I switch my mode into something else, right? For me, it's the equivalent of Maximus, Decimus, Meridius, and Gladiator picking up the dirt, smelling the dirt. It's go time, right? So that was my mental switch. It was like an actor getting ready for a film. You got to put yourself in that cage. When you're in that cage, you are that character. And then when you leave there, it's something completely different. But when I'm in that cage, bro, don't touch me, don't talk to me. Leave me alone.
How did you get mentally and emotionally so strong where it doesn't bother you?
Well, you got to look at the reality of the situation. Like for me, it's not, you kind of got to get over yourself. Like, it's not about you, man. Like, okay, you feel embarrassed. You're not that important. Like, get over yourself.
That's where you go.
Get over yourself. Right? Like you're worried about how people may perceive you, and like you're walking around and it's embarrassing because you shot 5 air balls. Get over yourself. Right? And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? Got it. High school, year before, we played 35 games, max, right? Week in between, spaced out, plenty of time to rest. In the NBA, it's back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I didn't have the legs. So you look at the shot, every shot was online. Every shot was online, but every shot was short. Right? I got to get stronger. I got to train differently. The weight training program that I'm doing, I got to tailor it for an 82-game season so that when the playoffs come around, my legs are stronger and that ball gets there. So I look at it with rationale and say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. I go, well, next year they'll be there. that was it.
Done. Were there some names that you looked at and says, these three guys are as crazy as I am?
At the time, I deal with what I've referred to as Goat Mountain. I went to Goat Mountain and I talked to Magic, Michael, Bird, Keem Olajuwon, Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, Bill Russell. So I would talk to them. What did you do? What were your experiences? Michael in particular, he's become my big brother. He's been my big brother since I first came in the league. And what was that process like? So I went to them and started understanding the ins and outs of the game and how they approach things and their level of detail and obsessiveness, and that's what I did. The players that had that passion but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things, you have family, you have all these other things that you have to do. The game can't really be your number one priority. And so
most adult survivors of child abuse crave and dream relationships full of trust, love, and heart.
I was just looking at that like, man, this is gonna be fun.
If I'm buddies with you from high school, if I'm a cousin of yours, what happened to our relationship? How did that gravitate when you went into the league and you're determined to become the greatest, or you're determined to become one of the greatest? What happens to our relationship?
Well, it suffers.
It does suffer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you understood that. You were okay with that.
Well, yeah. And the people that love you, like friends and family, like they know that about you.
Got it.
So they let you be you. And when you reconvene, you pick back up where you left off. Mm-hmm. But make no mistake about it, everything in between is lost, right? So those long-term relationships, the commitment of time of, taking like I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And they'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that. But
why not though? Why didn't you do that?
Well, because when I retire, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. I don't want that. I don't want that. You got a lot of people paying their hard-earned money to come watch you perform. It's your job to be in shape. It's your job to be strong enough to perform at that level every single night. And as a competitor, I'm not ducking shit. Like, it's not, oh my God, my back hurts, I'm sore, we got to play Vince Carter and Toronto Raptors tonight. We actually had this happen. We had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. But like the perception of that, like what? Kobe's missing the game against Toronto and Vince Carter because my back was really spasming. But people will be like, what? Oh, he's ducking Vince. Excuse me? No, I don't think so. So I would be in the layup line like, okay, there's a lot of days where you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That shit ain't bothering me today. He gonna have to see me today. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
If you're looking at big investments you got to make, what is the decision-making process there? Do you call? Is there first you do your own research? You take this much time. You call an advisor. Is there a system you follow?
It's pretty simple for me. It's do you understand the business? Is it a business that you can help in some form or fashion? What are the barriers of entry to that business? And then the entrepreneurs themselves, the company itself, right? Do they have a culture that you believe is sustainable? Are these leaders people that you believe in? Are they people that are obsessives? And in turn, have they created a culture of obsessiveness? So I tend to look at those four factors, and that's it.
That's big right there, by the way. I don't know if you guys caught that right there. That's pretty massive right there. Same determination. What's your current work schedule look like today?
It's different because I personally am not writing every word of the novels. I am not animating the films. What I have to do now is make sure that the people that we bring in, these obsessives that we bring in, are challenging themselves to do the best job that they think they can do. That's what I'm there for, is for them to constantly look in the mirror and self-assess and challenge themselves. If we have a project and you're saying, okay, I can do that, that's not the project we want. The projects that say, I don't know if I can animate that. I don't know how to write that story. I don't know how to do that. Those are the things we want, because through that curiosity, you'll reach a level that you didn't think was possible. And so running the studio, that's what I'm doing.
You're playing against the Golden State Warriors. Score is 107-109. You guys are close to getting into the playoffs. You know exactly what happens in the game. You go up, you're about to take your shot, and then all of a sudden, boom, Achilles happens, right? He went and hit the free throws, and then you walked off the stage.
Yeah.
You got the surgery done.
When I went in the trainer's room, my kids are in there, and they're looking at you and stuff, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, it's all right, Dad's gonna be all right. It'll be fine. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. As a parent, you gotta set the example. You gotta set the example. This is another obstacle. This obstacle cannot define me. It's not gonna cripple me. It's not gonna be responsible for me stepping away for the game that I love. I'm gonna step away on my own terms. And that's when the decision was made that, you know what, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
You're a freaking beast,
Wow. Huh? Kobe Bryant. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The mind of a winner. The mind of a winner. And I must say, those pictures behind us, Lady Chelsea, we've got winners behind us, haven't we? Huh?
Yeah.
They are definitely winners. Yeah? They even look like Kobe Bryant. Huh? Am I not they look like Kobe Bryant? Huh? That's why I played it.
Mm-hmm.
The young men I saw, you see behind you, when I saw them at a distance at another function some time ago, recently in some magazine,
mm-hmm.
the only person that came to mind, apart from, of course, Muhammad Ali, was Kobe Bryant. Manifest today.
Yeah.
Determined to succeed regardless of the obstacles. It's a mindset of a winner. And we need to nurture that mindset in the community. Yeah. Let it project itself. Let it manifest itself. Overwhelm the community. The mindsets of winners. Yeah. We are not victims. At this point, I always say, praise Jah, Rastafari. We are not victims. Yeah? That's what I like. Why I like to invite guests. We like to invite guests who are powerful examples of the best of us. Huh? And I believe, Lady Chelsea, we have an example.
I do think so, yeah.
Made manifest. Is he here?
Yeah.
Good morning, Sayce. Where is he? Is he there? Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh,
how's it going?
Morning voice.
That's good.
Say that morning again with that power.
Good morning.
Let's hear you say good morning. Come on.
Good morning. How's it going?
Oh, it's a
It's early, isn't it? Yeah.
A great pleasure. Kobe Bryant made manifest here in London, England. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, over to you, Lady Chelsea. Over to you.
Okay, all right, straight away. Hi, good morning, Sayce.
It's Sayce.
Sayce? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No
Sayce.
worries.
Sayce.
Sayce. Does your name have a significance? I wondered. Yeah.
It does. Now it does. When I was young, it didn't to me. I didn't like it. My grandfather was the first child for my mum, and he named me from Jamaican heritage, but he said it was from a book about the Bible and never told anybody which one. So I thought it was just a lie. but we can't locate the book. But I found out some years down the line that it actually originates from Wales and Anglo-Saxon times. So somebody that made knives was called Sais. So it's a very common as a last name in Wales. There's a Liz Sayce, who's a disability rights activist. Philip Sayce is a guitarist. So it's actually quite a common last name. So it might be the equivalent of Smith in Wales. So yeah, but Sayce. So it's actually someone that made knives, and I'm doing a lot of work to prevent knife crime. So
Okay.
my granddad knew what he was doing.
Yeah, that's a nice little link.
I'm not sure if you heard us prior to you arriving, if you were listening, we talked about our elders. Yeah? And it's not a question of them being clever, it's simply they've had so much experience. And their sole ambition is for their children, their grandchildren, their nieces and nephews to succeed. So we give them, our children, names which sort of symbolizes our ambition for them, Gotcha. Yeah, I'd love to have met him. I would love to.
He was a great man. He was a great man.
Okay. Go on. I'm going to hand you over. I'm going to hand you over to Lady Chelsea, because I believe you young people need to resonate amongst yourselves, because the program is intended to inspire. Because this is Galaxy Radio, the de-brainwashing station, and they therefore defy the negative naysayers. That's why I started off with Kobe Bryant. You remind me so much of Kobe Bryant. That mindset, regardless of the art, regardless of all those negativity, you will cut your way through it. Success, eh?
No pun intended.
Go on,
Yeah. So I know a little bit about who you are and what you do. So just to start, if you could just give the listeners a bit of an introduction about who you are and what do you do.
So Sayce Holmes-Lewis is my full name. Proud product of South East London. Born and raised in Southwark on the Aylesbury estate. 38 years old now. I've been working in the community with young people since I was a young man myself. So since the age of 16, so that's nearly 23 years, I've been working in the community in different guises and different settings, from pupil referral units to mainstream schools, primary schools, coaching full-time for Southwark Council, for Southwark Community Games, with Greenhouse Sports for 9 years as first off as a coach and then a community development manager. So all of my work has been centered around young people and trying to allow them to progress and see people from the community that are actually giving back. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm proud of where I come from, proud of my heritage. I'm from Barbados and Jamaica. Grandparents came here in the Windrush generation, so I'm a second generation Brit, but I always see myself as a child of Africa.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Really,
that's a lot.
The last part of your paragraph, we're a child of Africa, we remember, you see?
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's really inspirational. It's a lot of stuff. And I just want to know what motivated you, to work with and help with young people as a whole, but especially mental health.
Yeah, to be honest, it was something that I needed as a young man. I needed a lot of support growing up. At the age of 8, my father left the household, and that was when my problems kind of began. And it's not like he left and disappeared. It was just kind of in and out of my life. And, it was a very turbulent time for me. I'm the oldest of 7 at the time. I was the oldest of 4. So there was a lot of expectation on myself to be that role model, to be the person that my siblings looked up to. But I was having my own crisis. I was struggling. And, no one ever really asked if I was okay. It was always like, oh, you're the oldest. You got to do this. You got to do that. Yeah. And it was the expectation, which was a burden, on my shoulders for so long. But I was trying to navigate this world and trying to find my way as a young black man. And around that age when my dad left, I first kind of encountered racism. And then I realized I was different from everybody else. And that was where I had an identity crisis, for a long time. Between the ages of 8 and 11, I didn't actually want to be black because it was difficult. It was very hard. And growing up in South East London, growing up not far from Bermondsey, a lot of the racist kind of treatment started to increase. So my inspiration was a lot of men within the community and women that actually took their time out to provide that support for me. And it was a continuation of that work that I received. And I come from a family of educators as well. So it was almost kind of going to happen anyway. It was almost my destiny to work with young people and give back, because all my family, we serve the community, we serve our people, and that's how it's been historically. So it just was a natural progression, but it actually started through football, and that's what football was what navigated me away from the streets and negativity, and actually showed me there was a chances of success, and that's why I started coaching young people and refereeing at the age of 16. So, mental health is very, very important to me because it's something which is not spoken about within the Black British community and the wider African diaspora. It's something which we look down upon because of our plight, and we've overcome so much, and we think that mental health is something we just got to navigate and it's not important. But we have been conditioned to be the way that we are today, and there's so many deep-rooted issues around that conditioning which we haven't really focused on, and rehabilitation is important. So that's my main inspiration behind the work that I do, and why I'm so passionate about young people and my community.
Wonderful. Can I, if I may,
That's fine.
And thank you for that really honest outline of what motivates you. And the part that I hear, and if only we could encourage more of our youngsters to tell us about this, is that at a point in your life where you didn't want to be an African, didn't want to be a young black man, and I focus on that for the moment because most of us have been through that experience, because the hostile environment, as a former prime minister described, talking about a particular department in state, was in fact manifest in our immediate communities. And you talk about Southwark, we're all in Southwark here, and it is a reality. And there's not an appreciation as to the mental trauma that hostile environment imposes upon the young mind, and how much it can undermine your ability to function as a human being, and why every week I refer to the royal family, Her Majesty. They've excluded themselves from the equalities legislation. Therefore, they can legally be racially biased in the recruitment of staff who take care of the royal family. So if the royal family can do it, then anyone can do it. Can you imagine? It's profound. And of course, there are many around us who say, oh, no, we are an egalitarian society. But of course, we know that not to be the case. Quite manifestly, it's not the case. It's not until the majority communities want change will the changes come about, So I'm really pleased you've made that clear, that as a child, you didn't want to be who you really are because of the hostility you experienced. And as I said, I've been through it. I know millions of us have been through it. It interferes with your academic work, your school work. It interferes with your relationship, both with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people you might even love, And it most certainly interferes with your general mental stability as well.
Your spiritual equilibrium. I was just going to say that your spiritual equilibrium, it really just unsettles that. And we're very spiritual people. So you've got that internal conflict from a very young age, and you've got no one to guide you because you're not having those honest, open dialogue around that and what you feel. So it almost feels like it's a problem just on your shoulders because it's not common. And if it's not a common problem shared, then it's not a common problem solved. So this is why it's so important for us to really engage with young people and speak about the things that we don't often include them in those conversations because they're always excluded. Young people are excluded from schools, they're excluded from society, they're to blame for everything that's gone wrong in the world, even though adults are in control. It doesn't make any sense. So,
The whole purpose of shows like my own is for that not to be the case. And that's why I'm going to hand you over to the youngest member here. Go ahead, lady.
So one of your projects I've seen is Mentivity, if that's how you pronounce it, right? I just want to know what triggered that exactly. Now, you've said a bit about why, the general reasons, but what triggered that? I think what you started in 2016. So what triggered that, and what's the story behind the name?
So the story behind the name is it came to me in a dream. So it's that divine intervention. It came into me in a dream. I always used to have a notebook by my bed, and going backwards, I started off working with young people at the age of 16, as I said, with refereeing. And I was really trying to pursue a career in professional football. Was on trial with Leyton Orient, didn't work out, and then I was just trying to focus, on trying to do college, and I wasn't really motivated by education, to be honest, because I just realized it wasn't for me. It was so whitewashed in that respect. I just didn't. I always queried everything. I've been rebellious from a young age, so I just really started focusing on football, and that's what allowed me to navigate life, learning about how to converse with people in conflict, in situations, where it's difficult, where you've got a problem solve. So I really started to see the transferable qualities from football. And once I started focusing on football at the age of 14 to 19, it really changed my life because I was on a negative trajectory. I was really struggling. You end up moving with a peer group, which is reflective of your demographic and your society and your circumstances. And most of us didn't have our fathers around. So we were all grouped together with this kind of interconnected trauma. So football was my way out. I managed to obtain a contract in Ireland at the age of 19. So I became a professional football player at the age of 19,
Well
left
done.
the Aylesbury estate.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was 5 years of hard work. And before that, I was offered a scholarship to Howard University in Washington, D.C., but that coincided with 9/11. So I was like, no, I'm not going to go to America right now. I'm going to stay here. So, so I stayed. So football was what actually got me working with young people, because part of my contract in Ireland was that we had to promote the game of football in Ireland because it's not the number one sport. Gaelic football and hurling are the predominant sports. So I had no qualifications at the time and started working with young people. And I realized, I like this. They listen to me. They respond to me. This is really working. So upon my return to England, I went on a FA Level 1 course, which my mentor put me on, Abdullah Ben Kamal. And that was the start of my coaching journey. And from there, I started working, 2003, started coaching. 2006, started working in a mainstream school as a coordinator on a youth apprenticeship program. And from there, as a teaching assistant for a year, left there in 2007 and got the job with Southwark Council at the pupil referral unit, SILS. So I did that for a year, and then the job at Southwark Community Games came up, and that's what really then where I honed my skills. I was coaching, but also part of the youth inclusion program, working closely with the youth offending team. So it was all these experiences in my career that to date was like, right, this is what it's all about for me. And I went back to education at the age of 28. So I went and studied youth and community work with sports development at the University of East London. And that's where I really honed the concept of Mentivity and really started thinking about, right, this is what I can do.
Forgive me, says you went back to studies at the age of 28.
Yeah, mature student, basically.
Remember?
Never.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. I want to clap you and applaud you. Yeah? Clap and applaud you. Yeah?
It was crazy. It was crazy because I was in school. I've always been intelligent. I just didn't like, I didn't like reading To Kill a Mockingbird and these different things. It just didn't have anything to do with me. I did love Shakespeare, and writing and creative writing was my really strong point. I loved it, and I've always been very articulate and intelligent in that respect. But education didn't really inspire me, and it wasn't reflective of who I was and my culture. So going back to education was massive for me. After 10 years of really focusing on professional and semi-professional football and my coaching career, but I realized no one's going to take me seriously if I don't have this degree. And it was when I obtained that degree, it literally opened up my mind to the world. And it was the best course of study I could have ever done, doing a combined degree, working full-time with Southwark Council, part-time at Greenhouse, playing semi-pro football, raising my family, and studying full-time. Most people study part-time and work part-time, but I had to do it all at the same time because I'd wasted a lot of time when I was younger. So when I got that degree, it literally opened up doors for me. Within 2 months, I was offered to do a keynote speech in Canada around youth justice and empowerment. So I went to Edmonton and just talked about my life story and the work. And I started to really hone this concept of mentoring and the importance of mentoring through activity, which is what the name Mentivity means. Mentoring activity. It's a play on words. It's got nothing to do with men.
Again, please, mentoring activity.
Yes, mentoring activity. So it literally came to me in a dream, November 2015, I remember. And I woke up, wrote it on the notepad. Then I texted my brother and Leo, my business partner, before we actually started Mentivity. I said, I got it. And they were like, go back to sleep. It's 3 a.m. I was like, all right, cool, no worries. So initially, it was mentoring you through positive activity, sports and education. And that's where we really want to focus on, because I actually ran a pilot program whilst at Greenhouse as community development manager in Southwark, and it was called Sportsmen, so sports mentoring. But I found that that was too exclusive when working with young people and schools want to pick it up. So the name change came to me, and with all the research and data that I gathered, I literally just decided, right, this is what I'm going to do, but I've got to pick my moment. And then divine intervention again. I got made redundant from Greenhouse after 9 years. Prior to that, 6 years, I was working for Southwark. I was made redundant. So 2 redundancies within 18 months. I was like, you know what, it's a sign. I got my money from Greenhouse and for Southwark. Let's go with Mentivity. And I registered the company on the 14th of January, 2016, and haven't looked back.
Good for you.
Okay. That's amazing.
Is it Kobe Bryant? You know?
Kobe Bryant of the youth work world.
Oh my gosh, you know. Pride, you know. Go on, Lady Chelsea.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, what exactly is Mentivity? Who is it targeted at? What does it do for people?
So Mentivity is a mentoring organization and an alternative educational provision. And what we really pride ourselves in educating young people, parents, families, teachers, do a lot of teacher training around the kind of informal education and conversation-based learning and how to make the school environment more inclusive for young people, but also spread that cultural awareness about our culture and who our young people are and how you can actually victimize and marginalize young people for education without even knowing at certain points. And I give one such example. In school, when I've seen a lot of white female teachers and male teachers disciplining young black boys, and young black boys from Caribbean households may not be looking at the teacher, and they take that as a disrespect. But when I break it down to them and say, no, they're actually from the Caribbean. And in Caribbean culture, we don't look at our parents in our eyes when we're being chastised because it's a sign of disrespect. So we're actually being respected, And they're like, oh, I never knew this. Well, now you know. So, and these are the things that we try to kind of disseminate those myths around kind of black deviance, especially in young boys and girls, and is actually creating a bigger picture and get them to understand that there's a lot more cultural equity that you need to kind of buy into and learn about. So we're really focused on that teacher training and working with parents, but really the focus is young people, trying to change their mindsets, signposting towards their passions and linking that to what they want to do in life, because that's what I did. My journey through football has led me to the point of what I'm doing today. If I didn't follow that, then I wouldn't have been as engrossed in education as I wanted to and being receptive to learning, because I was doing something I was passionate about. And a lot of young people are signposted to negative things that they don't want to do because adults tell them from their ordained agenda, oh, this is what you should do, without even asking young people what they're passionate about. And that's why you see high drop-off rates within education and in society, because young people are lost and don't have that support. So there's a market there, and we found our niche in terms of what we're doing, and it's gone from strength to strength. 5.5 years with minimal government funding. We went out as a limited company, wasn't going to go as a charity because I didn't want people to look down on us and be like, oh, well, they need help. No, we're self-determined. We've got self-determination. So we created our own financial stream, which is important. And now we've got the charitable arm of the organization, which will work towards a full charity.
Sorry, Sayce, I've got to ask you to say that bit again. It's really an important statement you just made. You're not a charity. What are you?
We are a limited company initially. We have the limited company and we have a CIC, and we have the CIO being formed right now. So within 6 weeks, we'll be a fully fledged charity. So we want to have 3 income streams through the limited company, which is more the kind of work with local authorities where they will pay us as a limited company and kind of consultancy work in schools and delivering contracts in schools. Then obviously you've got the CSE, which is the middle ground, and we'll get rid of that when we get the CIO. And then we can attract, more kind of funding from the corporate world, which we're doing, with Goldman Sachs at the moment, Hogan Lovells, and lots of other organizations that want to actually donate and be able to match funds. So we need to be a fully fledged charity to receive that.
Well done, you. Yeah, that's social entrepreneurship. Yeah. Laughing. It's
no, I've been this way from a young man. Listen, I've always known how to make money. I've always been a hustler. Always had the gift of the gab and know how to talk to people, but it wasn't directed in the right areas. And now I've found my lane, and it's important to showcase that to people.
Wonderful, wonderful. If I may just ask a little question.
Yeah. That's fine.
are most of your clients, as it were, mainly young boys or young women?
Predominantly young boys, because that's where the need is in education. Predominantly black boys and black girls. However, our philosophy is so far reaching. We're as far away as Worthing. I was in Worthing yesterday morning. People were throwing it down there, delivering a session to 6 young people. Our work transcends barriers and cultural barriers because young people just need to be listened to, and our philosophy allows them to be listened to, but allows them to build that confidence and experience success and experience, being able to express themselves, which is empowering, and getting them to see the world not only from a local perspective, but from a global perspective. And when you link it to what's going on with young people are under attack. So young people are being oppressed by the state in so many different countries.
Yes.
And when you kind of link that oppression that they're facing to other countries, and they can see that other young people are being oppressed, then it becomes a common theme for them to discuss and something that they can actually have a personal attachment to. So they will be feel, obligated to make changes within their lives and to wider society.
Wow, powerful statement. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lady Chelsea.
Yeah, I just want to know: is it predominantly for people who may be excluded, are excluded, or it just like a hope for young people who just lost in something else?
Well, no, we're all inclusive. I mean,
Yeah.
we work at different junctures of the spectrum. So those that are, fully in it and trying to get out that gang life and the rut that they're in terms of their life. And then obviously those that are kind of teetering on the brink of being excluded and might be starting to flirt with that kind of negative lifestyle, and kind of criminality, but also those that are not, those that just want to raise their aspirations and those that want an aspirational boost and need support, because we all need support. So again, we're not an organization that just focuses on one type of young person. We're far reaching, we're all inclusive. And again, whether you're from your white working class British or black African, doesn't matter. We're going to work with you because that's what it's about for us. It's really showcasing that we can be adaptable, but also that we're knowledgeable and we can provide a service which is going to create change and create a legacy of change.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Is there an age requirement, or not requirement, but like a?
Yeah. We started off between 11 and 16, to be honest, but now we're working with young people probably as young as 7 now, because that's where the need is. So we normally just go to like year 5. But what we're now starting to incorporate is a lot of play, learning through play with young people who are struggling with boundaries, and a lot of games and invasion games help them to understand boundaries, but also kind of how law and enforcement will work and how governments and how decisions are made, because we have something called the inequality games. So for example, we might play a game of football or basketball, and we'll say, okay, one team, you have 1 touch. Okay, that's all you have on the ball to score goals. The other team, you've got all the touches in the world. I say, all right, you guys are going to play. These are the rules. I am the referee, but I'm also the government and I'm also the police. So anything that happens, I'm going to clamp down on it. So what happens is that the team with most touches, they end up getting into a lead, like 4 or 5 goals up, and the other team starts getting really frustrated. Oh, this is not fair. Why have we only got 1 touch? We stop it there. Other team, go and talk amongst yourself. This team, let's problem solve. How are you going to beat this team with the minimal resources that you have? Well, what we could do, we could work together, we could pass. Okay, great.
Okay.
So now what you're going to do is work together. So what happens is that team always comes back and it becomes more competitive. And then we stop it right there. Right, how do we get to this point? Now, if I'm the government and I'm your head teacher and you start acting out because you're frustrated, what am I going to do? Or you're going to chastise me, or you might discipline me, or whatever it may be. Right, so how do you regulate your emotions? How do you articulate yourself without getting angry? How do you speak? Well, I could just take some time out and then I can figure it out, and then I can go speak to the teacher or express what I feel. And this is what we have to do through play to actually get these children to actually speak and understand what the world looks like and why rules are important and why rules, when broken, can cause them problems, and how this becomes habitual. And when you don't challenge it, you start to bend the rules over time, which becomes, breaking the law and different things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope. So you really got to break it down in really small parts, but then also then link it together at the end.
Okay. So would you say the most? Oh, sorry, go on.
That's a really interesting example of a positive engagement with the young mind, a young challenging mind, I might add.
Yeah.
To impose a rule that they can only touch the ball once, but yet the other team can touch it multiple times.
Yeah.
It's an interesting piece of chess. You see, I immediately think of chess in that
Yeah.
case, and how to make it work. And I've been through a similar exercise. You see, a few years ago, but it was it was incredibly rewarding. But of course, the team I was on, we won. I might add. You know, but it required the team I was on to work closely, to almost visually, for our eyes to anticipate where the ball is going to go next, and you need to be there. You had to plan. It was
but the most important thing though is that what we've got to get young people to do is look inward when things are going wrong rather than outward, because all they do when things go wrong, they point at everybody else. Everybody else is to blame. And this is, again, what you see in society, because this is what adults are doing to young people.
Yep.
They're not looking inward and saying, well, what can I do? They're pointing at young people. There's always various moral panics. We had the Teddy Boys, in the 60s, the punk movement in the 70s, ska movement, like reggae, dancehall, garage, drill music. Always moral panics around young people, because adults don't want to take the time to actually understand and look inward to solve the problems and say, well, what haven't we done? Why have these young people got to this point where their expression feels negative, but you just don't understand it? So it's very, very important that when we're working with young people, that we get them to be able to reflect, but be accountable for what they do, because we've got adults in society that are not accountable. We've got adults within government that are not accountable. Indeed. So this becomes a slippery slope, and you have to break it from a young age and actually educate young people holistically and link it to things that they're going to understand. So this is why our work's so important.
Magnificent. Lady Chelsea.
As you mentioned, you've said that a lot of the forms of help or education is through games and activity. Is there anything else, like do you have like a counselling service? Is it meditation, those kind of things, or is it literally just like game activity based?
No, that was just one example when we're working with young people. Like I was like 7, 8, 9, because we're using play to reinforce the learning.
Okay.
The main driver is conversation based learning, which is a facet of youth work, which is referred to as informal education, and that's just enlarging experiences by sharing experiences and speaking and giving that intergenerational kind of dialogue, having that intergenerational dialogue between people within the society that are a little bit further along the spectrum than you and actually can give back. And from the African standpoint, what we don't have now in society is we don't have the elders in the home. We used to have the elders in the home, in the Caribbean as well. You have the elders in the home, you have your parents, and you have your children. And there's constant kind of intergenerational dialogue and learning going on. We don't have that in society now. This is why the village is non-existent to some degree, because we've actually gone away from our principles. So it's really now, it's imperative that we really bring that back. And we actually start to tap into the elderly community to actually help us in this journey, because they have so much insight. Like, I'm doing a little piece of my gran at the moment. She's going to be 87 in August, and I'm actually just documenting her journey from Barbados to here, because I've never heard this story. She hasn't told me this story, and all the things that she's endured, I'm just like, oh my gosh, Gran, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And if I knew this from a young age, it would have gave me such a grounding, a foundation of which to build upon, because I wouldn't have wasted time doing certain things. If I knew my Gran had gone through this abhorrent racism and this just mistreatment consistently from coming here in the 50s to now, I would not be wasting any time. I would understand that, right, I've been given an opportunity here, and my grandparents have endured so much that I've really got to, take every opportunity and grasp every opportunity. And this is where we're failing, because we're not communicating our experiences effectively and our history to our young people. So they have no foundation on which to build upon. They can't scaffold because they've got no foundation.
No, I agree.
Again, Lady,
did you want to?
Interrupting?
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine.
No. These are a profound series of statements. I'm not sure if you were listening earlier on. I always refer to an elder who appears regularly on this show, Elder Norma, and I point out that she remembers this country in the 40s.
Right.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 20s, and so on. And not that she's clever. She has so much knowledge, life experiences, and she's now willing to share to anyone. And she, so an ambition is for her children grandchildren, the niece, nephews, cousins, and wider children in the community to succeed, because their success gives justification and significance to her life. Yeah, that's her words to us, you know. So each week, I'm sure I talk to her, if only for a few minutes. She'll talk. She'll have to do most of the talking about that. If she's listening, she knows that anyway. But I listen keenly. Every so often, some profound statements are made, and just like you, if I may say so, Sayce, a few very profound observations are made. You said it. It takes a village to raise a child, yeah. And if in the home the elders are not present or not involved in the young person's life, they're like twigs fluttering in the wind, you know, without any base, without any roots, you know. And what elders provide is a base, the roots from which we draw.
Yep.
Yeah? We draw
Agreed.
our energy from, our certainty, our sense of place from, you know.
Yeah.
It is incredibly important. We've got to honor our elders, yeah, because their role in our community is vital, absolutely vital. So I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. Hey, Kobe, that's why you're here. I hear you. Oh my gosh. Yeah? The mind of a winner. God, sorry, Lady Chelsea.
That's all right. Would you be able to give us some insight how members have benefited from the program?
Oh gosh, this is going to be thousands of kids, and this is even before Mentivity. I've worked with thousands of young people across London, you know, and the legacy speaks for itself, because we've got so many young people doing such great things, and it's so many different areas of life. The first young person that I really started working with was a young man called Gavin, and he was from Southwark, and I met him at the Pupil Referral Unit, and he was really struggling, you know, with life and just becoming someone that was a negative person in society, because he was just trying to make it in this world. He was trying to make money, which is what adults tell us from a young age. You know, we live in a capitalist society. So when young people want money, we tell them that they're wrong. Oh no, get your GCSEs and get your papers and blah, blah, blah. Like kids are like, no, I want to make money. So we're giving the wrong messages. And he was really struggling. He didn't let me in at all, you know, for the first like 2 months. And I was just consistent, trying to break through for that conversation, trying to find some sort of common ground for us to discuss. And, you know, since leaving the Pupil Referral Unit, he's just gone from strength to strength. You know, he's now 27. He's got his own company called No Games Entertainment, which is a media company. He's doing a lot of work with kind of in consultancy. He's really just focused on videography. Music was a main driver for him, and kind of studying music technology. And he's just gone from strength to strength. And he's now someone that regularly gives back to Mentivity. He's part of our exhibition at the moment, just showcasing his journey and the importance of that journey. So he's done fantastic, and that's been 15 years of engagement with him, you know, and he still calls me to this day if he wants to have a chat or needs some help, because he knows I'm always going to be there. I've worked with Jadon Sancho, Reece Nelson, Tammy Abraham, Ademola Lookman, all from Southwark. You know, Jadon plays for Borussia Dortmund and now England. Reece of Arsenal, Tammy Abraham, Champions League winner. These young people are helped on their journey through mentoring, through their sport and their chosen profession. When I run the London Youth Games, we've got a young person from as recent as last year on our Raising Aspirations project that we ran online in conjunction with Goldman Sachs. And she had no confidence and self-esteem. And after that 7 weeks, you know, 21 sessions, she's now got 3 businesses, setting up a limited company as a photographer. She was at our event last week, at exhibition, taking pictures and volunteering, giving back to us. And she's just only 16. So we've got so many young people that we've helped in their journeys, and it's how we measure success, and it's got to be based on that young person. We can't measure success that, you know, someone's success in another area compared to this person. Like, no, because then that's why young people get really frustrated, because they think that that's the standard. We've got to get them to be successful in incremental steps, because it becomes addictive. And we have a saying at Mentivity, invest in yourself and you will be paid, not just in money, but through success. Now, success is addictive. Success is the driver for you to actually get the money that you want. And when you don't chase the money, then you actually get the money. And that's what happens. So that's what I found, because as a young man, I was just obsessed with money. Like, I used to, before school, I used to go to the bakery and get these straws, the sherbet straws, and they were 1p. And I used to buy £5 worth. And going to school, I'll sell them for 2 pence. So I'm doubling my profit. But after lunch, when everyone was really, lagging and needed a sugar rush, it was 3p. So I'd be selling it in school. Selling it be
Yeah.
now up from £10. I've been making £15 to 17.50,
Yeah.
and I was making that money every day, and it was a legit hustle. I've always known how
Mm.
to make money, but people, adults, will see that, like, oh, you can't do that because you can't
Yeah.
do that. That's not the rules. But they wouldn't
Yeah.
say, well, you're actually an entrepreneur. Well done. You could have a business. You could actually sell things. You've got,
Mm.
a gift of the gab. People don't do that often
Yeah.
in education. And we need people that understand the streets,
Mm.
understand the experiences of young people, but also are embedded in education. And there's not enough black men in education. There's
Indeed.
not enough black men in senior leadership roles. And
Indeed.
Mm.
we now have to have a major drive, with black men in education, because black women have been holding the fort in education for years, going through the conscious biases, the racism, all the microaggressions, and all these things just to be there for our young people. And
Yes.
they've endured so much. It's now time for the men to step up. And this is why Mentivity is here. And this is why I'm really pushing this.
Say that again. Say that again about men stepping up. Why should men step up? Come on, tell us again.
We have to step up because black women have been always stepping up. And what I'm realizing now, and I'm trying to, research a lot of history, a lot of the kind of black liberation movement, not only in the States, but here in Africa. And it's important for us now to understand the importance of women in that movement, in that struggle, because they're the drivers for it. Or you've got charismatic leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Steve Biko and Patrice Lumumba, but they always had a driving force behind them, which was a woman.
Yes.
Woman is a revolutionary spirit, a black woman, and the black feminist movement is also so important. I've been really listening to a lot to Angela Davis and now listening to Sartre Shakur's by autobiography, and it's just unreal. And because we live in such a male dominated world, we think it all centers around us. And this is why we have the imbalances in the world, because we haven't met in the middle with women. We don't respect our women. So black men in particular now, through that rehabilitation of self first, and then rehabilitating our women, because then you can't, pour from an empty cup. We need to do that. So black women are imperative to us overcoming the struggle.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to hear.
It's almost as if you've been watching these shows, I know you haven't, you see. Powerful. Before you go back to Lady Chelsea, just ask you to expand upon the girls mentoring scheme, which I see on your website. Just tell us a bit more about that, please.
Yeah, that's led by our ladies and our females, because there are some young ladies that we work with that need a male kind of influence and mentor and support. But there's some things that we're just not going to understand. When it comes to self-esteem and being a woman in this world and a girl in this world, there's a lot of pressure in terms of image and who you should be and who you shouldn't be. And there's certain things that we just won't understand as men. And you have to have a different approach. You have to have a female touch and a female approach when it comes to working on young women. And we're really pushing that, because it's important, because in the conversation around the causes of youth crime and all the indicators of youth crime, we're always talking about the boys. We're not talking about the women and the girls. And it's very, very important that they're being, traumatized through sexual deviancy and being exploited and so many different things. And also it's become like a commodity in certain areas of society. And we've got to change that. And then with that lack of respect and empathy and that touch that women can bring to the world, we're missing a trick. So we really have to work with our females. And it goes with the parents as well, really showcasing black men when you're working with parents in a positive light, because a lot of black women have had negative experiences with black men because of the condition that we have. When you go back to slavery and you go back to what happened to us, the families were broken up. The men were sent out to go and breed. This is what you're saying is reflective in society, because men are going out and just actually having multiple partners and having multiple children because this is what they've seen and it's been passed down. We're starting to buck that trend a little bit, but we're not understanding it and we're having more conversations around it. So we really need to showcase ourselves in a more positive light, because black women have felt isolated for so long and without the support of men who frequently, because of the struggles of the world and because of the conditioning, will look to substances and drink and drugs to actually and sex to actually make them feel more like a man, because they feel like a boy in this white man's world. And that's the difficulty. So when you've got that and you're supposed to be a man, you're supposed to be masculine, and you can't actually enforce that masculinity, then you become a boy and you become stuck in that perpetual cycle of destruction. And that's where we're at. And that's why mental health and all these discussions are so important, because we've got to understand self and overcome that and then spread that message to others.
Powerful, powerful statements. Yeah, powerful statements. Lady Chelsea. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned before you did teacher training. I know you do, I think, was it police training as well? I just
Yeah.
want to know how is that going, and what kind of and what kind of training is it that you're doing with them? Is it
Yeah, I'll give you a bit of a context. So
Mhm.
at the age of 14, I was assaulted by a police officer in my school uniform.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I went to Kingsdale. I chose to go to Kingsdale because I didn't want to go to war for Jeffrey Chaucer at the time. I just wanted to go to a school which was reflective of my culture. I actually got into Al Ains, but I didn't want to go. I refused to go to Al Ains. My mum was like, "You want look, go to Al Ains." I'm like, "Nope." And that's how I am. If I don't want to
Yeah,
do
you knew what
something,
you
you're
wanted.
not going to force me. I'm not going
Yeah.
to Al Ains. It's not my culture, not my environment. I don't care what people say. So I went to Kingsdale, which is, if I had the choice, I'd go to Kingsdale again because
Okay.
it showed me the world in a school setting. Literally, the difficulties that you went through in that school prepared
Yeah.
you for the world. So it was a great, great experience. It really was a great experience, and I really loved it. So going home from school one day, age 14, I was getting on the train at Gypsy Hill with all my friends, just finished playing football. Got on the train didn't go. Police officer came on the train. You, get off the train. I'm looking like, talking to me, like I was 14, I was in, I think, year 10. So I got him, said, sorry, why? And he said, get off the train now. I said, well, if you tell me why and what I'm supposed to have done, then I will get off the train and we can have a chat. He said, if you don't get off the train, I'm going to take you off. I'm like, well, I'm not going to get off the train because I've not done anything wrong. You haven't told me why I need to get off the train. So I'm going to wait. As I said that, he grabbed me, pulled me off the train, punched me, grabbed his truncheon, hit me twice in the abdomen. He then handcuffed me, pushed me up against the fence, handcuffed me with hands behind my back, and then dragged me along the platform by the handcuffs, up 2 flights of stairs into the ticket hall. By this time, there was a crowd gathering of my friends and the innocent bystanders of the public, and it was just like total outrage. I was crying. I was only 14, big officer, and I didn't know what had happened. Like I was literally just crying and just like hysterical, but angry. And then he looked around and all the pressure was around and he just said, oh, I'm de-arresting you, and never gave any reason. And literally, I just went home on my way, told my mum, we filed a complaint, went to the solicitors, went to file, obviously, a complaint, take it to court. The CPS at the time threw it out, even though we had CCTV footage, eyewitness accounts, said there's nothing that happened. And then the police submitted a counterclaim against me of a public order offence and assaulting a police officer. So at the age of 14, I had to go to Camberwell Court in my school uniform, not knowing what the outcome was going to be, thinking I was going to go to prison for something I never did. And there was no justice. You know, as a 14-year-old, I looked around and I just realized there's no justice in this world. And at that moment, I hated the police. Like I despised the police, the criminal justice system, everybody that was linked to it. And I felt really, really isolated and I really struggled with that. Since then, I've been assaulted 2 more times by police officers and I've been stopped and searched over 30 times since the age of 14. So last year during lockdown, I got stopped delivering food to people that lost family members to COVID, and I just had enough because every time police stopped me, it was a negative reaction because of all that injustice I had. 24 years of this injustice, being oppressed by police, and I just realized. I looked at the officers. Oh, you're kids. You're like 23, 24. It's time for me to school you. So literally, I filmed it on Instagram Live, and I said, you guys, you did this to the right person, because now I'm gonna make this a bigger thing. I'm gonna train you guys how to engage with young people in the Black British community. And true to form, I made it happen within 6 weeks. So on the 24th of June last year, I had spoken to so many different people at Mopac and with the police, and I made it happen on the 24th of June last year at New Scotland Yard. And I never thought I'd be invited into New Scotland Yard, like voluntarily. But I went in there and I did sessions around conscious bias, around cultural equity, and linking that to stop and search and the Black British experience. So now I've been working very closely with the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, Deputy Mayor for Police and Crime, Sophie Linden, and the GLA around this. The Mayor's Action Plan, I played a pivotal role in that last year. And now I'm carrying out the training, which has been disrupted by COVID, but I will commence on the 8th of July, I believe, recommence the delivery for Southwark and Lambeth. So it's really now showcasing that if I can change my approach, I can change my mentality, and I can now educate and meet in the middle. The police have to do the same. And this is a groundbreaking program. This is going to be unlike anything that they've ever gone through because I will consistently hold them to account. I will consistently hold Cressida Dick to account. and all those that say they're going to do these things, because I will make noise, and I've got that platform now.
Good.
And really, it's about meeting in the middle. It's about understanding that racism as a term is outdated, because racism upholds the system, the two-tier system of humanity, basically, in the sense of us being second class, three-fifths of a human being.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word racism anymore. It's oppression. And when you
Absolutely.
say it's oppression, other people across the world can relate and be like, whoa, I'm being oppressed in Palestine, in Colombia, in Venezuela, in South Africa. I'm being oppressed. And when you have that common connection to oppression, because racism is a black and white thing, isn't it? That's what. So
Yeah.
white people think, well, it doesn't impact me. No, but it's a smokescreen, because white people are being oppressed by the same group of people, the select few. Yeah, they are doing the same to us. So once we see that the 99% are being dictated to, and all this infighting is being created by this term racism, when it's actually oppression, as a global family, we then can come together to overcome this and hold them to account and take back the power. The power is with the people. So
Absolutely.
again, the term
But yet
racism is
again,
outdated.
power is with who?
The power is with the people. Always has been,
Oh,
but we just don't know. We just don't know.
you
It's a
just don't
sleeping
know.
giant.
Yeah.
Wow. And if I may say so, because that's a profound a story of an actual experience, not dissimilar from my own, I might add. And it's interesting that the police target particular black men. You see, I'm of the opinion that the so-called police force has been penetrated by extreme right-wing influencers, okay? And what they're doing, particularly in the case of our own community, is targeting particularly young African men who they're detected have robust personalities, okay? Who can overcome the burdens, okay? And strive and succeed regardless, okay?
Yeah.
We are definitely being targeted. It starts on the very top from the monarch, mind you, okay?
Yeah,
Not,
of course.
not ever talking about racism and her disgust with it. She doesn't talk about it, yeah?
Yeah.
No member of the royal family discusses it to any great extent, except, of course, the more recent experiences, which I won't go to right now. But what's quite clear to me that your experience was similar to my experience, and we're going back 40 years.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
And goes back to my father's experience, it goes back 60 years.
Exactly that. Yeah,
and
my
that
grandparents.
reoccurring, because you and I, or my father, are not particularly violent or prone to criminality. Yeah, okay. It's simply that we were being targeted, and we've been targeted to undermine our social economic advancements. Yeah, want to undermine your confidence in school, therefore you don't become an academic, and we want to undermine your social interaction with both your peers and other people. They want to undermine your economic viability, so that you cannot contribute to your family and see. That's what they're trying to do. We will defy them. Yeah,
definitely.
We will defy them.
Yeah, we have to. But the only way that we do this is that, again, we have to look at this. There's only one race. It's a human race, and we understand that. That's the key thing. And when you look at the teachings of Brother Malcolm, and especially after he came back from Africa, he actually admitted, and that's why I love him so much, because he admitted that he got it wrong under the leadership of the Nation of Islam, and he said, "Look, I've actually called the white man devils far too many times when I've been praying with white people and in Mecca." You know, and went through Hajj and all these different things. And he came back and he set up, obviously, the African Union. And this is one of the reasons why he was taken out, because he was bringing together the people. Anytime a black man tries to bring together and unify the people, he's going to be taken out, regardless. But we can't be fearful of that.
No.
We cannot be fearful of that. We've got to keep pushing on.
Yes.
And we're seeing now what's creeping in, you know, over here. And we know that our black activists potentially are not safe now. And this is reflective of what's happening in America. And this is a terror campaign against us. And we know this. But we can't be silent. We've got to speak up. And we've got to do this for our young people, because I don't even understand the impact that I've made over the last year and other people that have made on me. When I'm out and people talk to me like, "Oh, I've seen you on TV," and young people, that is the most fulfilling thing ever. Because seeing a black man on TV going head to head with a commander of the police.
African man on TV.
Right. Yeah, African man. Yeah. It's important. It's important. And representation matters. And we need to control our narrative. And this is where the narrative that has been created against us is that the cycle of oppression continues, because the miseducation of people from this country who are indigenous to this country, white people,
Mm.
yeah, they think that we're deviant. They think that we're this, elephant, this awful being. But we've never colonized any countries. We've never started any world wars. We never dropped any atomic bombs. But yet you want to keep calling us, yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So we've endured the most pain and suffering of any people on this planet in the history of this world. And once we control our narrative and start to infiltrate these systems, but also withdraw from this system, eventually, we have to go back to the motherland. We have to.
Go back to Africa.
Unless we do that, it's not going to happen. Like Dennis Brown, Bob Marley, everybody, Marcus Garvey, the blueprint is there, but we just don't want to read it. We don't want to read it.
But I'm just conscious of our time. If it's so exciting, I need to open the telephone lines. We've only got 25 minutes or less, in fact, 20 minutes, in fact. So if I may, I'm going to give out the number, or I'll give out the number.
Yeah.
I can ask you further questions. This has been so exciting, It feels as if you and I have been talking all our lives, and you're exchanging my words for your words, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It is quite remarkable. Reality, I knew it. Anyway, the number to call, those who are listening and want to engage with this inspired African man, Sayce Holmes-Lewis, call this number 0203 481 5240. And the PIN number, please, to enter. It's 3707 33 43 97, followed by the # sign. That's the vertical and horizontal line. So the lines are open, but I'm so enjoying this dialogue with you, Sayce. I so enjoy this kind of dialogue.
Me too.
Oh my God, long may this continue. This is what we need. This is why this station exists, and why I wanted to do these programs. As you know, I've got very little time really, but 2 hours on early on Saturday morning, I could just manage it. But you'll give me a fillip. Give me the fillip, the desire to keep moving forward. Long may that continue. Let me go back to Lady Chelsea, because she had a few more questions for you.
Just in case someone does call, I just want to get some information about how would people join, or how can we help, or like get our young people to, if they feel like they need help, how can we get them to you and Mentivity? Yeah,
so I mean, the main thing that we were struggling with was space, and we've managed to acquire space now via Southwark Council. The new community facility on the Westmoreland Road, which was due to open this year, but has been pushed back because of COVID. We've now been given Giraffe House on Albany Road from September. So now that will allow us to actually run more programs in the evenings and weekends with the community and those that want to volunteer. If you want to volunteer, you can email us at info@mentivity.com. info@mentivity.com. And we're encouraging people to...
Forgive me, just spell Mentivity for
me. Mentivity. So Mentivity. And that's been the problem that we've had, is that we've not had the space to actually engage the community. Now we're going to be in the very same community that I grew up in, on the Ellsbury estate, which is great. It's a great story. So now what we're really looking for is people who have expertise in allowing our organization to grow, in areas of fundraising, media, HR, people that can give their time and help us to actually build capacity within the organization and get to the point where we can be not only a local organization, but a national and global organization, because we actually do work in Kenya loosely as well. Do a lot of work, did some stuff in Uganda as well. Do a lot of work when I go back to Barbados and giving back through Mentivity, which is important. So we're only as strong as our community. And if we don't mobilize the community to do more and get them to understand the issues and get to the crux of the issues via giving our time, because that's what young people value most. They don't value the trainers, they don't value all these different things, they value the time. And that time equals love. Because when you work with a young person and it's not from your family and it's someone you don't know, you're not obligated to be there. And young people know this. Young people are more intelligent than we give them credit for. So they know that you're not supposed to be there for them, but they know you're taking the time out and they see that as love. And that's why Mentivity and all the work that I've done with young people has been so successful, and they never forget me, because they know I do it for the love of them, the love of my community, and giving them that time and saying, I'm always going to be here for you no matter what. So it's important now that we rebuild that village. We rebuild those connections, because we have so many, a massive disconnect within community. And young people now are just lost. My son is 14 and he feels lost, and he's got his mum and dad around. He's got all the input. He's doing great stuff, but he's like, Dad, this world is just daunting. Like it's a lot, as a black man, a black young African man, I'm really struggling. And that's why I had to take him to Barbados for 2 months and take him to Kenya for 3 weeks, because he had to see the motherland, at this age, and see what the world is and how it is for him as an African man. So it's important and giving that grounding. So we've got a lot of work to do. So I implore people to get involved in Mentivity in any capacity. We will look for volunteer mentors, but those that can help us build capacity, we're searching for you.
Okay. No, that's great. Info, yeah. Hello? I don't know if I can hear it. Oh, okay, he's on mute. Okay. I'm so confused. So that's so I'll just repeat. So that's info@mentivity.com, and that is for people who want to volunteer, and people who have skills in those things that you said, so HR, media, those kind of things.
Fundraising,
to help out.
Main thing is fundraising. Yeah.
Fundraising. Okay, cool. And for maybe young people that want to get involved in getting help. As well.
I mean, the difficulty that we have is that we don't have infinite resources of funding, and we've got to pay our staff to do it. So if we can get volunteers to help us within that,
okay, cool.
The work that we do within the schools is obviously going to be paid for, covered for. We have a little bit of funding from the Violence Reduction Unit and the My Ends project in both Southwark and Croydon, doing a lot of work in Croydon at the moment with the virtual school and so many different things that we've got, working with the police. But again, it's just about us getting to the point where we can actually have, all kind of inclusive offer where we can actually just take on young people. And it's difficult, because you don't want to turn people down who need help, but obviously time and money dictate.
So
we do have bills to pay. It's a tough one, but we do what we can,
I'll give out the number again just to make sure. So it's 0203 481 5240, and of course the PIN number, it's 3707 33 43 97, followed by the # sign, the vertical and horizontal symbol on your keypad. Can I ask you, before you go back to Lady Chelsea, tell us about this online mentoring service I see on your website. Just tell us a bit more about that. What you do there.
Yeah, that came about because of COVID. We weren't embracing technology at all. Showing our age there. So we weren't embracing technology at all. And once we were in lockdown last year, like I was just like, my brain just was at 1,000 miles an hour. I was thinking, what can we do? How can we still reach these young people? And we were doing it for free. We were doing it voluntarily because we had nothing coming in. And I was thinking, oh gosh, it's the end of Mentivity. It's a wrap. It's done. And I was just fretting, but I was like, no, not going to be defeated. I'm going to focus and find a solution with Leon, who's in the picture there, but also my brother Tyson, who's an integral part of Mentivity. He's the chief delivery officer. Leon's the chief operations officer, and I'm the CEO. And funny story about me and Leon, funny enough, growing up, me and Leon we despised each other, for about 6 years.
Okay.
We could not stand the sight of each other.
It's a long time.
Oh, for 6 years. So when my dad left, I went to my grand's every weekend.
Yeah.
And every weekend, from the age of 9, 10, I used to see Leon walking past the house, and I might be out and playing and just look at him with my brothers, and we just look, and he'd be with his friend.
Oh, right.
We used to call him his buck-tooth friend. He has buck teeth, and we're like, oh, look at this guy, and walk in, and we just be like that, typical young black Southeast London boy stuff, It's not even saying hello, you live on my grand's road. So this went on for years. Couldn't stand him. I was like, oh, that guy, can't stand him. So our mutual mentor at the time, I didn't know, was Abdullah Ben Kamal, and he founded Bethwyn Football Club, which became Greenhouse Bethwyn, and then Jean Talib Football Club. And he's been a stalwart of the community for 25 plus years. He's been mentoring me through football and through work since the age of 14. So I was playing for Kids FC, which was part of Kids Company at the time. And Abs was like, look, I've got these 2 boys. I've been working with them at Kids Company. They're not all there, but they're going to come down. And Sayce, I need you to really support me and mention, because you're quite mature and stuff like that, and they're a year younger. I'm like, yeah, cool, no worries. So I get to training and I'm waiting, and then these 2 guys come up. I'm like, oh no way, is it this guy? So he comes up to me, and I'm like, I'll go up to him like, hey, I'm Sayce. what's your name? Leon. Ah, you live on my Grand's Road, right? He's like, yeah.
Mhm.
The whole 6 years didn't matter because of Abdullah
Okay.
and the respect that we had
Right.
for Abdullah. We had to
Yeah.
respect each other.
Yeah.
23 years later, I'm godfather to his 2 children.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how it
Wow.
is. It's crazy. And that's the power of a mentor, the power
Yeah.
of someone
Okay.
leading by example and connecting young
Yeah.
people in the community. So yeah, Leon, yeah, crazy story. So yeah, we couldn't
Yeah,
stand each other. He
no.
probably doesn't like me now, but yeah.
Secretly, just
I'm sure he does.
No, I'm joking. I love him to bits. It's my brother from another. Yeah.
And of course, you won the Mentor Award in 2020. Well done.
2019,
Oh,
yeah, National
2019,
Mentoring
well
Award.
done.
Yeah,
2019.
yeah. So National Mentoring at the first inaugural National Mentoring Awards, and it was a crazy kind of event, to be honest, because we were reached out. They reached out to us and said, "Oh yeah, you've been nominated." I'm like, "All right, cool, great, blah blah blah." And then, can you get this stuff? Can you like buy your tickets? And I'm like, why am I buying tickets to an award show that you invited me to? Like, I'm like, this is a hustle. So I was like, I've never heard of you before. So I did all my research. I'm like, whatever, we've got some money, let's do it. So me and Leon went. Tyson was supposed to come, but he had to cover a game for our football club. We had a football club which we just got rid of in the city of London by the Barbican. We had that for 8 years, and so Tyson couldn't get down. So Leon's wife came down with us. So we're at the table and we're sitting down enjoying the food and the event. And Rory Bremner's like hosting and came to the National Mentoring Program of the Year and there's Mentivity, blah blah blah. And I'm like, all right, cool, we're not gonna win. So and then he announced Mentivity, and I was like, "What?" I got up straight away. I was like, "No way!" Like,
Shock horror.
I just ran into the front, got up there, got the award, and I was really happy and just like shocked. But we won the award out of nearly 1,000 mentoring organizations across the UK.
Wow.
And we were only 3. Yes, we were only 3 years old at the time. We're heavyweights, like Prince's Trust and things like that.
Yeah.
We beat them to the
gosh.
National Mentoring Program of the Year
Well
award.
done.
And
Yeah.
that was
Well
really
done.
just, it's crazy, right? It was a recognition. I was just like,
pause for a moment. We've got a caller on the line.
all
Gosh,
good.
I've been clapping you so throughout this your interview. Oh my dear, I don't normally do that, and I do apologize. Oh, that is so beautiful.
Very impressed.
I'll take it.
Thank you. Caller from number ending 5811. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Yes, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Give thanks for this platform and brother and sister there. You wonderful discussion at the point where I was able to pick up.
Thanks.
I just want to say thanks to Galaxy again, this platform, and Chief Pakumbabai, and Dr. Habu,
Yes.
Elder Erakuti, all came together, the Sister Shanice,
Yes.
and Empress Culture, etc. All. I just want to ask the brother to spell out the name of his website.
Yes.
Clearly, he's speaking so fast, we're not able to write it down. Yes, it's very interesting, very interesting. And the other point that I want to say is that I agree with most of what is said. Yes, and the high point is that regarding our community, as he spoke about the community, you stating that our community, the interference in our community, in other words, but we were not able to build a community, so we were not able to have a neighborhood. If you cannot build a community, you can't develop your community, you cannot have a neighborhood. And as you said, we were targeted. All this gentrification, so-called gentrification, when I look at it and analyze it, really, it's not gentrification. It is planned, perpetrated act, interference in not to develop a neighborhood. So if there's no community, you cannot have a neighborhood.
Just so we're clear then, caller, that, sorry, I didn't catch your name, caller. I'm sorry, I didn't ask your name.
Oh, it's Sister Empress.
Oh, it is Sister Empress. I thought it was. Okay, Sister.
Yes.
Look, you're right. But what says, of course, represents is that defining character that makes us who we are as African peoples. Against, when faced with adversity, we can succeed. Well, what word of encouragement do you have for Sayce? And it will spin out the Mentivity for you later on. What words of encouragement do you have for him?
Focus.
Oh, go on.
Keep on focusing, because once you maintain continuity, that focus is what is required, and the determination. Focus, determination, the tenacity to move forward. But focus is so important, because sometimes the picture is there and it's saying you can't see what's inside of it, because we're not focusing. We're not looking and focusing. Take gentle footstep, focus and identify. And he's identifying. You're all identifying. We are all identifying. And one of the threat that they use, as you said, Brother Motivator, Mr. Motivator, is the police. They use them to abuse our community, to abuse us. So therefore, and target our young teen men. They start targeting them from they are the age of perhaps 10 now. And we have to look at what's going on. The police are used, and I'm not talking about, they dress up in uniforms, and I'm not talking about our, those in the police that are African, because I don't think they're targeting us the way at all. They are there to prevent and to looking and to help our community, our family. But the Caucasians, they use them. We have to look on how they look at the picture clearly and see what they're doing, because they're the closest thing to us. They're in terms of closest in the community, walking on the street, and they deliberately, those men, Caucasian males, are deliberately targeting our young girls from young to the age of 60. It's deliberate, and yet this is oppression. They are very oppressive.
I'm going to let Sayce respond to you now. Let him respond to you, because it's said a lot. So, but I think you're both on the same page. But anyway, Sayce.
Oh, for sure. So the website, Sister Empress, is www.mentivity.
Sorry, my brother. I need to get off to go and write it down.
You've got to write it down.
I need to get on the phone, because I need to be, because I need to get my pen. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, could I listen off here? Yes? Yes. Let me go back and write it down, because my signal is not good, and then I need to talk and then go back in. Okay. Give thanks. Okay. Blessed.
What I was going to do is just take note of your telephone number, and I can.
Well, she's left now.
So I'll say.
You just want to just say, slowly.
So www.mentivity.com. So www.
Even slower. Think about
Oh gosh, slow motion. I'll go back to the future. www.mentivity.com. And just touching on the gentrification, all gentrification is localized colonialism. That's all it is. And when people understand this, they're going to understand that there's different types of colonialism, and that's what gentrification is. But we haven't done enough as a community to claim our stake in these communities so that we can be immovable. We don't own enough land, property. We don't have enough, economic streams coming in, because we're quick to spend our money because of the conditioning, the lack of self-esteem, because we want to buy things to make us feel good about ourselves. And that goes back to the Americas, after slavery and wearing your Sunday best. This is some.
I've got another caller on. 7 minutes, so we've only got 4 this caller. So I'm going to ask to be quick. So caller number ending 5817.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings.
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 It's Sister Mel. Good morning.
Oh yes, greetings. Good morning. Good morning. Do you have we've only got 4 minutes, so you've got a quick question for Sayce.
Oh, definitely. I've got a quick question. I can't divulge too much, because my son wouldn't be very happy with me talking about him without him here. But my son is 17. His life is football, but he's had various exclusions and stuff. He's out of the education system. I very much would like to get in contact with you, because he is a very intelligent boy. He's turned his life around. He's trying to do things, but he's met with so many barriers in his and obstacles to what he wants to do. And there are various other factors that are going on. And I'm wondering, from my point of view, it resonated with me what you said about me wanting to direct him into things. For me, it's more trying to give him a choice. But you're right. He wants to just do football. That's it. He doesn't want to do anything else. And I'm wondering how, I can help to facilitate him with his dream, knowing all the barriers that he's facing and the difficulties he's facing as a young black African man in the UK.
If you could email me at info@mentivity.com, we can pick up this conversation and see what we could do. Where are you based?
I'm in Croydon.
Oh, perfect. All good. Yeah, if you can do that, email me. If not, you can find me on Instagram at Sayce Holmes-Lewis and shoot me a DM. I'll pick it up.
Sorry, your Instagram is?
Sayce Holmes-Lewis, my full name without the hyphen.
Brilliant.
Yeah. All right.
And your name, so I know who to look out for?
I'm Mel.
Mel. Okay. Thank you, Sister Mel.
And I've captured your number here, Mel, so I will send you some communication as well, okay? I'll make sure.
Thank you, and thank you very much for inviting your speaker on today. Thanks, Martin.
Yes.
And Lady Chelsea, holla.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Okay, we're almost out of time. So Sayce, so they always wait in the last few minutes, and there are a few more coming in now. Unfortunately. In fact, we now have 6 waiting for me. I can't.
Oh, God.
I'm really sorry.
Got to do it earlier.
Yeah.
I know they've moved that I should maybe go on for an extra hour longer, but it's my title, so anyway. It is what it is for now. The fact they are there, and I'm really sorry there's 6 who are waiting. I can't take the call. I'm going to just, if I may go back to you, Sayce, and assuming Lady Chelsea, you've answered your last question.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say this. This has been truly inspirational. Okay. I would like to invite you back again in a few months' time. But I want us this time to really focus on a specific project, and I'd like the one in relation to the police force. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've got to look them in the eye. This time, this is where it's appropriate. Look them in the eye, and we've got to be the change makers. Okay. Regardless of what the aristocracy and those who are well-heeled want the police to do, we've got to defy them.
Yeah.
And we've got to be the change makers. We cannot have another generation who had the same experience you and I had. When I was 14, I had the same experience when I studied my A-level, similar experience. When I had my A-level books in my hands, where did you get them from? You know? And the cheeky person had the cheek to go through my exercise books. Is this really your work? That looks too good to be your. Can you imagine? So it's quite clear we were being targeted as young men. Okay, try to suppress our spirit, to undermine our confidence. The intention is that we would not be economically viable and cannot form relationship with our women and so on and so on. That is not going to happen again for the generation. And with young men like yourself and women who are clear about what we want for this society and indeed our society in Africa and beyond, change is inevitable.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's me preaching. Give us your last 30 seconds. We love your...
No, I just want to say thank you for everyone that's tuned in and the support I'm getting from the community, which includes you both as well, Chelsea and Martin. I really appreciate you giving me this time and platform. If you want to learn more, as I said, given the website, but also I'm on Instagram at Sayce Holmes-Lewis. Also, check out at Mentivity on Instagram too to learn more about our work. We've got an exhibition which finishes on Monday at King's Cross, Cold Drops Yard. I'll be down there today between 12 and 3 p.m. Stable Street, Cold Drops Yard, right next to Samsung, opposite Dishoom. I'll be down there from 12 to 3 giving guided tours at the exhibition. So again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. One love.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
And stay strong. Yeah. Stay strong. Okay. Thank you.
Always.
Now there's so many women now who might be wanting to get your number. So I won't take your number now.
Oh goodness. He is taken.
just me and my son. That's my focus right now.
Blessing.
All good.
Blessing. Thank you very much for being an outstanding guest on today's show. Thank you.
Thank you. Outstanding host.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Lady Chelsea, huh? Wasn't that outstanding?
It was great. Great show.
Outstanding,
yeah.
Okay, and it just go to show that there are so many young men with such potential out there, you know, and we've got to harness that potential. I am so proud of him. I am so proud of him.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know, he didn't think he'd win the award. I heard about it, you see, him winning that award. And it was actually reported to all councillors. And in fact, I should have told him that Councillor Akoto sends her regards. She's one of the cabinet members who I know you know. And I've got to tell you that it's this is one organisation which I've been monitoring for some time. But you know, it's all good. It's all good. So it's now 10 o'clock. Thank you. That was well done. And how do you feel being in the hot seat there, Lady Chelsea?
It's okay. I'm getting used to it, I think.
Often, huh?
Oh gosh.
I don't mind being your backup, you know.
Okay.
Lady Chelsea, thank you.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Right. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
And I can always say to all those young men and women who are thinking about their futures, your future is what you want it to be. Contact people like Sayce, make the difference together. Okay? If you're unsure, contact me and I'll make sure your details are got and that team of inspired African people. Truly inspired. So that's it. Time is up now. There's a song. Thank you so much. Take care. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Another inspired show.
Bye.